Hello, good morning, everyone. All of my friends, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. Hello, hello. Okay, I see all of you on. Hooray! Um, all you early birds, welcome. So you can see what the project is for today. It is red, white, and blue. And for those of us in the US, that means 4th of July. But for those of you in other parts of the world, red, white, and blue is still beautiful. And they go together really well. Red and blue are beautiful together, and then add a little white. Or you can change out the colors. You can totally do that too. So I'm thinking July 4th because it's coming up. And I don't know where the time goes, but everything just flies by. And pretty soon it's going to be the end of the week, and it's going to be July, and then it'll be the 4th. So I just thought, it would be fun to do something that is red, white, and blue, and also fun to do something a little simple. We've done a lot of complex projects lately, with the throwbacks and just the whole Father's Day series. All of those are pretty complex, scenes. And so I thought, you know what, let's do something simple and quick. And so we're going to do a couple of them just to give you an idea. And putting flowers together, it seems like such a simple thing, but sometimes it can be intimidating as well. So I'm going to show you how to use some different florals and how to put something together that is really simple and quick, because flowers are good for all occasions. And sometimes we need those quick projects that we can do in just a few minutes. So first, I got to say hi to all my people on here, all my friends that are on. Welcome. I'm so happy to have all of you on. I can see from the very top, Elaine, first one on. Elaine, welcome. Glad you're here. Patricia says, hello, AI friends and Bonnie from gloomy and rainy Maryland. Need some prayers here for much needed sunshine. On a good note, it's 87 outside. Oh my word, that probably means humid. Humid. But yes, wow, Pat, that would get old. Prayers for you for some sun coming through the clouds today. Jamie, hello, and good afternoon to you too. Janice, hello, good morning. I can tell where you're across the country if you're saying good afternoon to me. So it's 10 a.m. here in the Pacific Northwest, but probably those of you who are farther east, it's the afternoon, definitely. Um, let's see, who else is on here? Janice, Kathy, hello. Tony, my friend Tony, hello, good morning. Sandy, hello. Diana, good to have you on. She says, I love red, white, and blue projects. Me too. Me too. There's something about it. It's very patriotic for us here in the US. But for those of you in other parts of the world that don't celebrate July 4th, it's also really pretty. Red and green together are really pretty. And then throw the blue in there too. And the blue and the green together, and then the accent of the red. It's just a win. It's a win-win-win. And you can always substitute that red out with the pink, which would also be cute. And then the blue with a different type of blue. So kind of keep that in mind too. Maybe a warmer blue and maybe a different type of red, maybe an orange or maybe a pink. And that would also work really well together. All right, let's see. Sandy, yes, good morning to everyone. Tina, hello. Terry, good morning. Kathy, yep, Kathy, share your link. So any of you who have not been on or not joined one of the Facebook groups, these are private groups, the Art Impressions Way and the Art Impressions Stamp Group, both private groups, but people post on there, the most talented watercolorists and just artists who do all sorts of art impressions work. So if you want to get inspired, join one of those groups, or both. Just join both. And they're so encouraging. Everyone is so encouraging, and I've learned a ton just being on there. And I stalk those pages all the time just to see what you guys are doing. So if you want inspiration, those are great places to go. Carol, hello. Good to have you on. Joy, hello from Wildemar. Good to have you, Joy. Simone, good morning. Ellen, hello. Jeanette, good to have you on. Kathy, hello, and happy watercoloring. Yes, you know what? It's a good day for watercoloring. It always is. Whether it's warm and sunny or whether it's nasty outside, it's a good day. Kristen, hello from Blaine, Washington. Mary, good morning, Mary. Good to have you on. Shirley, Diane, hello from Maryland. Hello, good to have you. Kathy, hello. Jane is on. Hello, Jane and Carol from Missouri. You guys, this is just the best. Thank you for saying hi to me. This just means so much to me. It really does. I just love seeing your comments on here because I visualize you in the room, but of course I can't see you, but I can kind of see you with your comments. So it really means a lot. Shelly from Massachusetts, and just the fact that you're all over the country. It's just crazy where you're all from. We had 13 states represented, plus Canada, at the retreat this last weekend. Just, I can't believe it. Just so many people from so many parts of the country. Just goes to show that we are all just a community. And, you know, it doesn't matter that we're across the world or across the country. We can all be on together, encourage each other. I just love that. It never gets old to me. Hello from the Netherlands, just back from the beach, she said. Awesome. Cindy from Kansas, Teresa. She says, what a beautiful painting for today. You guys, I haven't done a flower container or florals for a long time. So it's time. It's time to just put some things together. A little of this, a little of that. I pulled out a container, the cowboy boot, just because it seemed kind of American. And I pulled that cowboy boot out, you know, thinking of 4th of July. And I haven't used it in so long. And you know what? It is the funnest thing. It's just the funnest thing to use. So fun to get some of those older things out. Patricia, yes, very humid, I bet. Good morning, Ruth Ann. Hello. It's good to have Ruth Ann in the house. Consuelo says, I love simple. You are so welcome, Consuelo. Ginger from Tennessee. Vicky, hello. Diane Mason. Hello, Diane. Always good to have Diane on. Mary, yes, actually afternoon here. So Mary was also here for the retreat. So she has an adjustment going back and forth to the East Coast. So I think you're 3 hours, 3 hours different from us. So she's already, let's see, if it's 10, 11, 12, it's already 1 o'clock there. Peggy, hello. CJ, hello from Connecticut. Good to have you on. Hello. Beautiful vase for today, Ruth Ann says. I know, you guys, just red, white, blue is so pretty. And also, like I said before, don't be afraid to switch the colors out. Pick something else and just use the same idea for the arrangement. Mary says, pajama day here all day. She's here in her happy spot. Good for you. Good for you. Let's see. I think I missed some up here. I gotta say hi to everybody. Sherry, hello. Linda from Chico, hello. And Judy from Florida. Good to have you guys on here. Janice, hello to you. Gail, hello. Missed yesterday, but here today. Glad to have you. You know what? We can't all make everything, so it's okay. That's why these things stay on. They stay on our Facebook and our YouTube. Valerie, oh, so hot here in Arizona. Oh, I bet. This is sort of your months where you can't go outside very much. So sort of like our winter months here, just because it's so blazing hot. Jeannie, she says, watching from our cruise ship in Alaska. Oh my word, that is a win-win-win. Watercoloring on a cruise ship. Oh my word, that just sounds amazing. Glad to have you on. Val, good morning. Cheryl, hello from Kirkland. Barbara from Missouri. 1 o'clock in New York. Yes, Terry. Terry on the other side of the country, for sure. Judy says, feels like romper room with all your hellos. You know what, Judy? That's exactly what I think. And I think it every single time I get on. And I see Judy and I see Bobby and I see, all these little, kids out there. You guys, you might be too young for romper room, but I certainly am not. And I remember that. And it was such a, an amazing thing. And I really thought she saw everyone through that looking glass. Tony says, I'm almost finished with the remodel of my craft room. Can't wait to start painting again. Oh, Tony, that sounds like a big job. You know what? To me, the stress part of that would be organizing the things in the craft room, not decorating the craft room and creating everything, that you're putting on the walls, but the actual organizing of all your stuff. That would be very stressful for me. Terry says she's been painting with the June throwback this morning. Great. Awesome. Linda says, can't wait until you do some of the Father's Day foundation scenes. Love them all. Yes, Linda, I will be doing that. Yes, and thank you for the reminder for me to say that because we will go back to those. I think you need a tutorial for all of them. So I will definitely be doing that. Denise, hot, humid Louisiana, welcome. Debbie, yes, welcome. She says, it's been a while, but I'm back. Good. We're glad to have you. Michelle says, you were on Romper Room? You were? Oh, you gotta add some more information on that. We need to hear the details of that, Michelle. You gotta post the details on that. Catherine from Ontario, good to have you on. All of my friends, welcome. I guess you guys, we should get to our project now because I can chat with you all day. So let's switch over and get to our two projects that we're going to be doing today. So if you got on a little bit early, you can see exactly what we're going to be using, and I hope you guys are going to paint along with me. They're pretty simple. Both of these projects are really simple. Both of them have a different style. So you can see that this is a totally different from this style here. This is a lot, simpler, a few little things. And that's the thing about these long stems. So this is from the release, I believe it was last year, where we had the long stems and the little narrow-necked containers. And they're just great for things like this. You don't necessarily have to fill everything and make a giant bouquet in your container. You can add a few little things in, maybe a vine, and you're good to go. You're totally good to go. Okay, I'm missing comments here. From the Chicago area, Marianne, hello. Will you have a warehouse sale this summer? Amy, to be determined. We have been talking about it, but it is not set 100% yet, but we are definitely talking about it. So be sure that you guys are on our mailing list because you will get information about any of those things that we do. So stay tuned. Linda says, I do need a tutorial for all of them. Yes, you know what? When it comes to things like that, even though it seems like it's really simple, sometimes there's little simple things that will really help you. So I will for sure do that. Okay, Terry says, got all her supplies out to paint along with me. Great. Michelle, okay, Michelle, she says, I live in the Quad Cities in Illinois where Miss Peggy did Romper Room. Oh, you're kidding. Okay, how old were you when you were on Romper Room? I need to know that. How cool. That is such a cool. And do you have pictures of that when you were on? How cool, you guys. All right, so let me move all of these things aside and let me just show you again what we're going to be using. So let's move this out of the way, move the pens out of the way. Mostly what we're using is red, green, and blue. And then we'll add a little bit of white paint and then a little brown. But other than that, it's pretty much red, blue, and green that we're using today. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on in here. First of all, here's what we need. So we need the, let me move these out of the way so they're still in the screen. So we're going to need the little daisy bunch, this one right here. This is a great filler for all of these little areas. When you're not sure what to put into a floral container, this is always a go-to. So we're going to be using that. This one, the vine, the large vine, this one right here, and probably only about half of it, just to kind of add a little bit here and there. The boot. So the boot is from way back. This is from, you can see the skew is 4871. So this goes way back. And there are some really cool things in this set. And I came back to it. I haven't been to this set in probably several years. And it's so fun. This is the boot that we're going to be doing. And you guys, it's really fun to paint. This set, so this is the set that I grabbed. And it's got multiple containers. You could use any of these containers. Absolutely any of them. The one that I'm using here is this taller one. And then we're using this, but we're only using 2 of them and 2 leaves. So I'll show you when we go to do this project, what part of this, and let me just leave that aside so that I can show you what we're going to be using. From this set, here's those long stems that I was talking about, with those narrow neck containers like this one. So you can just fit those in and then you can make the container clear. So that just means that it's glass with the water in it, and you can see the stem coming down inside. So these are really great for those types of containers. But of course, you don't need to use the whole thing. You can use just part of it, like maybe this part here, which is probably exactly what we used. This part right here. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Amy says, what does the size of that boot compare to last week's throwback? This is way bigger. Let me just measure it for you so that you can see. This is way, way bigger. And it's the size of a container. So the other boot is more like an accessory that you could stamp next to the container. So it would be just something that you could add to it. Maybe and maybe some of these things like this basket, maybe the stump. It could fit right next to some of these things right here. The stool from the last throwback. So let me just measure this because, and I think it is the exact size. It is. So it is just about, let's see, 1 inch and 3/8. About 1 inch and 3/8 by, from edge to edge. It's probably about 1 inch and almost, well, is it about 1 inch? About 1 inch and 3/8. So it's about square. It's about square, 1 inch and 3/8. So it's a pretty good sized image. Just perfect for a container. Okay, anybody else have any other questions? Amy Powers, it was so much fun a couple of years ago when you guys made projects all day long. That was so fun. That was really fun. And we'll be doing that again for sure. So like I said, stay tuned. Stay tuned, you guys. Romper, stomper, bomper, boo. Vicky, yes. Yes. Okay. You know what, you guys, some of you remember Romper Room for sure. Michelle says, I was about 6, and she says, I'm sure there's a picture, but I'm not sure where it is right now. I think we got a certificate too. How cool. That is so neat. Mary says she's never used the boot. Okay, Mary, you need to get it out. Do you have the boot? Get it out because it's a really fun thing to do, especially for something like fall. I don't know why the boot always reminds me of fall, but it just does. And you could, put it next to a pumpkin, and you could make it Halloween and put some spiders coming out of it. I think that would be really cute. Okay. So this is the rustic boot container, the rustic container set 4871, and that is the one that we're using for the container, or for the container, right? So in this set, we're using this little flower here. I love this little flower. I haven't had a chance to use it enough, but all of these are really, really cute, and they fit perfectly in a tall container, especially if you want to make something simple, and maybe you just have a couple of florals just kind of hanging out of it. It doesn't have to be completely filled. So we're using these two. One kind of swings to the right, one swings to the left. So these two right here, but again, and here's that tall little, bluebell. This one right here. I love this thing. It's so cute. And we're going to be using those 3 in this composition. Okay, so for that one. In this one, I just grabbed a simple long stem. Just a simple long stem just to put into the background, and I grabbed this one. So this one right here from flower set 6. And then of course the containers. So this is the one I used, but you can use any container that you have. This combination will fit in any container, and it can hang over the side. And I think I actually, let me just see if I did that. I just left half of it off because I hung some of these flowers over the edge. So, I'll show you that when we get to the project. This one, the vine. I love this thing. These vines swing to the left and to the right. So this one is these are just great. So we're going to use those. This is the vine that's hanging down over the side of the boot. And then I think we went over these two, the daisy bunch and the vine, these two. And that's it. That's it. Judy says, I need a boot stamp. Consuelo, yes, the boot label, yes, is the actual size of the stamp. Yep. So let me show you that again. So 1 inch and 3/4. This is the actual size, and you can see it next to the boot right here. It's the actual size. So are these. So are these here too. All right. let's get to it. And since we're talking about the boot, let's just do the boot first. Let's just do this one first. I've got my palette. We're going to need some of this, and let's zoom in closer so we can really see what's happening here. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do, which we've done, is stamp the boot. And the boot is stamped. Now these are rubber. So remember, when you're using rubber, you need to stamp it off at least 2 times. Rubber will just hang on to that ink. Now, things that are clear, you only have to stamp off 1 time. But for the boot, and especially since we're adding so much color in here, we just want that tint of earthy color just to kind of add to it, because stamping it just in blue is just not going to give us that look. It's going to look like we stamped it in, it's a stamp stamped in a blue ink pad or with blue ink. So it's really important to add those earthy colors in, regardless of what color that you're using, especially in a larger space like this. Sometimes when you're doing a small, tiny thing, you don't have to do that. But in something like this, especially a boot, a thing, you want to make sure that you get those 2 colors. And you guys, you know this in your sleep, what they are. 565, 969, these 2, combination of 2. Blue first, ink it all up, and then go right over the top with the brown, the 969, right over the top. And then stamp it off at least 2 times, at least 2. And when I stamp it off, I press down pretty hard to get the majority of that ink off. And then I stamp it onto my canvas like this. Okay? Mary says, just joining in. Good afternoon. And from soon to be stormy Michigan. Oh my goodness, you guys in Michigan have just had weather. Just weather. Well, good to be inside. Good to be inside, Mary. And get your stamps out and just paint with us. And until the electricity goes out. And hopefully that won't happen. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our water. So like this, and we're going to grab our brush and just really saturate our brush. Just make sure all the bubbles are out and your brush is really, really saturated. Tap it off like this and then pinch it off from the metal all the way down until it's flat. So just like that, it'll come back to the point. As soon as you touch your canvas, it'll come back to a point. So never worry about that. And then from now on, remember, only the tip. You're only dipping the tip in the water. Never, ever to the metal. Never. And never, ever the whole brush. You'll just get too much water. You can't even pinch it off. You'll get too much water on there. So always make sure that after that, you're only dipping the tip, the very tip. And then we're just going to pull out some of the color. And you can see where these lines are here. So when the lines are in here, you don't have to worry so much about a highlight, because this area here where the lines are is going to be dark. And basically what we want is that the edges, so here's our rounded area right here. Here's our contour. This is going to be darker. So the area behind it, around it, just needs to be darker than the highlight, where the highlight is. So I know that sounds confusing, but you'll see when we kind of get going here. And then just down around here, and you can see the mix of color coming out. This is going to be dark inside that boot, and then along the edge. And this part of the boot, that comes forward, this little extra piece. So that means the color is pulled out on the back side of it, because that makes this come forward. So we're just basically creating a shadow, and that pushes this section forward. Same here. So with this, we want this little lip right here to come forward. So that means the shadow is underneath. See how that just pulled that forward? And we can just come up along here. Actually, the whole just clear to the edge. And see, that's forward. If we'd have colored it on this side, it would have brought this section forward, and it would have pushed that back. Okay, Roberta says, hi everyone, sitting at the airport for the flight home. Oh, Roberta. Roberta, get out your watercolors right now. Find a little table and just sit and watercolor with us. Okay, so let's start out by adding some color to the boot, and let's do the boot, and then we'll do the florals inside of it. So we're going to get some blue, and that is the 565. So the red, white, and blue is this blue. And that doesn't mean you can't add other blues, you can, but this is the traditional blue color. And so we're going to take some of this and we're just going to start by adding some color to the darkest areas. And so that is going to be on the side, you know, on the side of the boot down here. And then, you know, in here where this little section is. And see, here's where those highlights are, you know, kind of in this section. But we don't have to be as careful leaving a highlight there because we've got these lines that are sort of making a crease. And those are going to be darker. Those areas are going to be darker. And then just, you know, let that dry a little bit. And then we'll just come back in here and we'll add a little more color. So this back here is where it's probably going to be the darkest. And then just pinch that off and just keep dragging the color over. And just keep building this color up until it's as dark as you want it to get. Still stay in each section. You really, you know, that's really important to stay in each section. We can make this just a little bit darker here on the side. And then here, you know, here's where we're just making these, you know, these little creases in the boot where it's old and it's just kind of all, you know, worn and bent up. And okay, so now let's grab some brown. So we use a little of this, the 969. We use some of this. And then let's use a little bit of this too, this warm brown. 947. And this is 565. And we're going to get this really dark back in here where the heel is of the boot. That's going to be really dark back inside. And then let's use some of this brown and we'll get the front of the boot here. And let's just add a little of this color too. And then let's add some of this color to the other part of the boot. And we're just going to brush this on. So just brush a little of this color on. You can mix a little bit of this just to get another color in here. You know, leave a few little light spaces. Just going to give you the idea that it's kind of, you know, worn and you know, the leather is kind of puckered. And we'll just add a little darker color back here. Okay, so now we're going to take the twin tone and we're going to really darken this back in here. We're just going to really darken that boot back in here. We're going to get this area where the toe is. We're going to get that, kind of get that sole in here. And get this really dark. And then down in here, kind of, you know, this area. And then let's just add a few little details in here. You know, these little stitching lines here where the boot's kind of stitched up. And then let's add some texture lines to the boot. We'll just add some lines kind of going across here. Okay. Add just a little bit more color there on the bottom. And that's really all we have to do with the boot. That's it. Okay, so now let's add a little bit of let's add some florals in here. So we're going to start out with the little bluebells, and we're going to put those in here. And I'm going to just cover part of the boot here because I don't want that to stamp over the top of the boot. So just kind of cover it up like that. And then here's that stamp, and you can see how long that long that stem is on here. So I still just put it on a small block if I'm just going to use part of it, because it's so much easier to manage than a big giant block. Unless you're going to use like your stamp platform. If you're going to use that, you could, you don't have to do this obviously, but I just think that it's so much easier to use a small block. And then I always put it in the corner like this. So what I would do in this case is you could freehand it. I mean, you could just kind of wing it and just stamp it in here, but you really kind of want it, because of where it is and the opening of the boot is wide. You want to make it look like it's kind of leaning back a little bit, and these flowers are kind of leaning to the back of the boot. So you don't want to, in other words, because the boot, let's just look at it here. Because of the way that the boot is, you don't want to stand all of your flowers straight up. That's not going to look natural, to just stand like 3 stalks of flowers straight up. If you're filling it up with tons of flowers, then that's what you're going to do. But when it's like this and the boot is wide open, the flowers would naturally just kind of lean back, as you're filling it here. Diane says, love this cowboy boot. Okay, went to my first ever rodeo this past weekend. So much fun. Oh, you know what, Diane? We go every year. We've got a rodeo that is about probably 30, 40 minutes from here. And Phil, that is one of the highlights of his year, is going to that little rodeo. It's called the St. Paul Rodeo. And we all go every year. And he just looks forward to it so much. So he would be cheering you on if he knew that you went to the rodeo. He just loves it so much, everything about it. And then there's probably was some fireworks afterwards. There's always fireworks at ours afterwards then, and then they play the music. It's really neat. Okay, so I'm going to use the stamp positioner because I want to just show you how to make sure that you're getting these things stamped in the right place. So if you've never used one of these, this is how they work. Comes with a little acrylic plate and this little L bar, and it fits right in the corner like that. So we're just going to ink this, and we're going to ink it in the blue, of course. So the florals, the blooms, are going to be blue. And then the stem. So we'll ink the stem like this, and then we'll hold these two things in place, and then just put this right into the corner of the acrylic plate. And now you can see exactly where this is going to go. So let's move this aside. And we can see we want this to kind of lean back like this. It doesn't have to lean clear back because we're going to put another flower in here, but still it needs to kind of look like it's leaning back in here because you've got all this open space. Okay, so we're going to just kind of lean it back like this. And this is the tallest thing in the bouquet, so it should be pretty tall in here. So let's just do it. Let's just put it up about this high, and then we need to cover it. So let's just cover. Let's just go back. Let's just do this again. Let's cover this, and then we're going to put this in here. Probably just, I would say, let's just put it in about this far, like so. And then you can probably just huff on it, and it will have plenty of ink because it's rubber. Yep, it's got plenty of ink on there. So now we can take this off and look at where it is, and that's a good position for it right there. That's a good position. So now let's do the other little florals that are going to go in next to it. And let's do these with the stamp positioner as well. It's just, you know what, just takes a minute to do the stamp positioner, and you're going to be sure to get them all in there. And if you've got just tons of confidence, you just put it in. Just stamp it in. So let's do this one first. This one's going to swing to the left, and we're going to do these red. So the 856 red is the one I'm using. And we're not going to need much of this. So I'm just going to ink just down a little bit, just down to about there. Hold this in place. And now we can see where this little floral is going to go. So let's cover it up. Let's cover up the boot. And we can just kind of fit this one just right. Let's just put it up a little bit farther. Let's put it up about here. Maybe we don't want it. No, let's put it up a little bit higher. I think that's good. And we're not really stamping it over this blue, this little blue flower. So let's huff on this. Okay, and then let's look at that. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now let's do the other one. You got 4 little corners on here, so use them all. Just use them all. And now let's do the other one. So here's the other one. This is going to swing the other direction. So let's do the green. And again, we're not going to need too much green on the stem. And then the red. And now this one is going to just come out like this. So this one is farther down to the edge of the boot. And let's put it right there. I think that's perfect. Oops, let's put the, you know what? Let's put this on first. And then we'll swing this one over. I think that's good right there. I think that's just perfect. Put this back. What is happening here? Okay, there we go. Got hung up on the lip. Okay, so now we'll just huff on it. And we'll just stamp this one right in here like that. So now we've got our basic flowers in here, and then we can add our leaves and everything else now, our daisy bunch and all that. So let's pull the color out of the lines now. And I'm just gonna switch to my little brush, my tiny little brush, and let's get the blue, these little bluebells. These are, you know, because they're tall, they fit really nice in your bouquets because they can kind of go in the background, and they're kind of narrow. So they're easy to put into a little bouquet. And let's get our red in here. And let's just add a little more red. $8.56 of the red. And then we're just going to add a little more red. Just, you know, each section at a time. You know, just do each petal at a time. And then, you know, it does change the shape just a little bit so that it doesn't look like it's a stamp. And then you can come in here and just get the little leaves. And let's just add a little more color to these two. This is the 177. I'll just get that little stem too. Okay, so now let's add something in here on either side. And we're going to use that. We're going to use the little daisy bunch. So we're going to use this one. And we're just going to use a few of these little daisies. So there's actually, it actually looks like 3 on one side and 2 on the other. So we're just going to ink these on the side, just the 2, because we don't need a huge bouquet in here. And we're just going to get, you know, a little bit kind of on the side. And then we'll kind of hang some over here too. And maybe we'll just get a few, just more in here. And then before we add any water to it, let's get the vine in. And we're going to use the stamp positioner for that because we want to make sure we get that in the right place. So let's move this out of the way. And here is that little vine. So it's narrower at the top and then it comes out on the bottom. And this also has two, it swings to the left and swings to the right. So I'm using the one that swings to the left because I want it to kind of come out from the boot. So we're just going to ink this with the green. And we don't need to mask off anything with this one. Okay, so this one is just gonna get stamped right into the middle of this little crease right here, and it's gonna just swing out. It's so cute. It's gonna just fit. And because the leaves are a little darker, you don't have to worry about stamping over the edge of the boot. It's totally fine to just stamp over that. So I'm gonna ink it again because I wanna make sure this is really, did I just move that? Let's just, let's just do it again, just to make sure. And I think we want it to just come off, like just right about there, I think. So we're going to ink this again with the green, just to make sure that we've got enough color since we're stamping it over color on the boot. Okay, so now let's take the small brush again. And let's just hit all these little leaves in here. And they've, you can see they've got quite a bit of color on them, so they're going to be fine to stamp over something that's maybe a little bit darker. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to my other brush. And I'm going to just add some water now to the daisy bunch. And just tap it. Leave some white spaces and mix that green in with it. And really, that's all we have to do. And if you want to, you can drag some of this color out. So some people just like this clean look. It looks really clean because it doesn't have any background, and it's beautiful too. But you can also just keep dragging the color out and get a really nice background, really nice pretty blue in the background, or add a little sky to it and just kind of, pull this color out, including in here. But just, it's just your preference. All right, now we need to do one more thing. We need to put a shadow under the boot, and you can see that the toe comes up. So it's, it's worn, it's, especially the toe here, because this is all creased up. So the toe is up higher. And in order to show that, we need to do the shadow underneath like this. And you can see how that just lifts the toe right up off the ground. It's an optical illusion, but it really works. It really works to do that. And if you to just, put a shadow, all around here, it's going to look, it's not going to look natural like this. So it's such an easy thing to do. Just put a little shadow right underneath and then right back here. And you've got your little boot that sits right on the ground. Kendra is on. Hey! Guaranteed she's buried in books. She's got tests, tests tomorrow and Friday. Then done with third year. Yay. Good job, Kendra. Fun to have you on. Wow. That's a treat to get Kendra on. Okay, so I'm just going to go do one more thing. I'm going to just go to the middle of the red flowers and make sure that they are really dark in here where they connect to the body of the flower. And I'm just putting a little red dot in there to make sure that those are really, really red. And then we can come back with some white paint on this like we will on the other one too. So let me sign it since I'll be giving this one away. It's always just the little things at the very end, you guys. Just the little extra things that really make a difference. Okay, so let's set this one aside and let's go to the other one. Let's go to the other bouquet, which is this one. And we'll do this little pot. So let's move this all out of the way. So here's how I stamp this one. So I stamped the container first, and then I just left off a little corner of this because I knew I was going to put some flowers right in here. You can also, if you're going to fill these things up with things hanging over, just leave the top edge off. Just don't even stamp that top edge. Just leave this whole lip part completely off, and then you can just fill it up. You don't have to fight with that edge that's on here. All right. So here's what I used. Let me see where that package is, and I'll show you what part I used on here. Okay, so you can see this section right here. It's actually this part right here, this little corner of that floral. And I just turned it so you can see. I just turned it like this and just stamped this right onto the top of the container. So here again, you guys, just think about these things individually and how you can use them individually. So I just used the two leaves and the two florals. So the red, and it's okay if it gets, see, I got a little bit of this on here from the flower next to it, and that's okay. We don't ever worry about that because we're going to add so much into here that it's not gonna make any difference. So don't worry if you get a little overlapping red on here. It's totally fine. All right, so let's add some color to the pot, and then we'll go on and add our florals to the inside. So let's just kind of move this over a little bit. See if I can get my palette in here. So we're going to just start out by pulling the color out. And this one too is one that you can make into a glass container, which would also be really cute. So I just made it white, made the container white, but you could also put the stems in here, add these things with long stems, and just make this just clear. So, you know, this is white, so we're just gonna have a shadow on here. Just like this. Just drag it over to the center. And down here on the bottom. And then let's add some color. So we're gonna do the blue, and we're just gonna go just a short distance up the container. So again, we want that dark color on the edge, and then we're just gonna pinch off our brush and just drag it to the center. Just drag it all over until you get to the center, and we get that highlight on here. And basically, just, you know, the sides just need to be darker than the middle. That's really the only thing that you have to worry about. You know, are the sides darker than what's in the middle? Pinch it off and then just drag it over. Like so. And then let's just do this a little different. So I added a blue stripe, and then I did the red. And so let's just do the red stripes, because I was thinking about that after, you know, just because of the red, white, and blue. Let's just do red stripes here. That'll really give it that, kind of give it that patriotic look on here. And you can see, do you see the difference with the angle here? See how this one kind of comes down? That's bringing the florals forward. This is more straight across, and you can see the bottom is pretty straight across. So we're just kind of mirroring, we're mirroring the bottom on this one, but you can see how it changes your perspective just by bringing that down, just by bringing that forward. And this one leaves it level in the back. So fun having Kendra on here, you guys, isn't it? We just don't get her very often. We really don't. And she's just been slammed. She's been slammed. Okay, let's go on to the flowers. And we're just pulling this color, you know, out of the lines, just like we always do. Just dragging that color out. And this is the 856, same red. And then let's go through and we'll just do the leaves. Now see, that would be cute just by itself too. And actually, if you added this tall floral in, just right in the back, that would be so cute. Just simple, just simple. It can just be a couple of little flowers in the pot and you're done. And you're done. Okay, so adding a little bit more green on here. And then let's get a little more red into these florals, especially here where the petals connect. It's so important that this inside is darker. And basically what it does is it just lifts the petals, you know, where they're, you know, from where they're attached, and then the edges are lighter. Okay, and I'm going to come in here now with my bullet tip on my red, and I'm just going to really make sure that this is dark in here. Make sure that's really dark. All right, so now let's come in with the little daisy bunch and the blue. And we'll just get a few more of these little blooms. And you know, this is, remember, these are stamped in a circle. So you just want to get, you know, get that put in here and stamp it, you know, all around. Let's just hang this out a little bit farther. And then let's add some vines to it. And you can do this all before you add the water to it, because the green and the blue are going to blend together really well. So let's just add in some of these, and don't be afraid to turn your canvas so that you can really get these things stamped in here. And then let's turn it this way, and we'll add some more in there at the bottom. And then we can add our long stems. So let's add the water now. And just kind of just touch it. Just touch all these little leaves too. We're going to add some white in here. So we want it to be pretty dark. You could hang, you know, we could hang one of those vines off of this one too. And then you can just drag this color out. It just adds a lot, I think. I always do this, but you don't have to. Like I said, if you know, some people really like that clean look where you've just got just the flowers. Let's add a little shadow under here too. You know, right around this little container. Kind of sets it down on the ground. Okay, so now we're going to add in our long stems into the background. So let's do that. And then I'm just going to put, I really don't want those stems to go over my red flowers. I'm okay with them going over the green, but let's just do this now. So let's get our blue. Get our blue and then get our green. Now we don't have to go too far down. So let's get one kind of in the center. And get some more blue over here, and maybe we'll just go this direction, and maybe we'll just do another one up here, and let's see where we're at. That's probably pretty good. Let's just do one more. Just kind of down here, maybe just a little lower. And then we'll just add some water and just touch all of these little petals, just individually, just touch them. And let them kind of blend out and change the shape a little bit. They'll all just kind of be a little different. And then just get the little leaves on here. And then I think I put a little vine down at the bottom, so let's do that. And I just kind of, you know, set it on the ground like that. Just hit it with a little bit of water. And we can just, you know, pull a little bit of this color out too. And let's just add, I kind of feel like maybe we should add a little bit more of something in here. So maybe we'll just take a little bit more of this as soon as that's dry. And we'll just take a couple of these little florals and just add a little bit back in here. And then just touch it. Okay. Okay, you guys, let's get some white paint out. So let me move all of this to the side. And let's get some white paint out. And we'll add a little white to these. So let me grab my larger brush. Anybody have any more questions? Kay says, would love. Kay, yes, you guys, put on here, if you'd like to win one of these, you sure can. So Leah's going to be picking a winner, and it could be you. So be sure to just say it in the comments. So I'm just going to dip my brush in to the white paint like this, and I added just a little bit of water to it. So let me just do that again. Just add a little water. And just kind of get the excess off. And then I'm just going to add in some little white flowers in here. Because you guys, you know, the white flowers are just the best. Let's add some down here too. And I put some little white centers in here, and I think that just kind of made these little red flowers pop too. Isn't that just so cute? You can add a little white to these blue florals too. And then we can just kind of give it the idea of, some stars just by putting in some little dots. And how cute is that? And let's do the same over here. So let's add in just a few little some little white flowers in here. We can add just a little highlight on these little flowers. And a little highlight on that boot. Okay, and we are finished. Carol says, would love to win either one of these. Can't wait to try them. You guys have to try these. They're just the absolute easiest things. And I need to do more of these simpler projects because we've done, like I said, we've done some pretty complicated things. But don't forget about these simple little florals because they just fit every occasion. They're great for every occasion. Somebody needs some encouragement, or you just want to send a hello, or you're just creating a journal or a portfolio for someone, which how cute would the red, white, and blue be to do something like that. That would just be really, really neat. So let me now move everything out of the way so that I can get back to you and say hello and goodbye to you. Thanks for all your comments, you guys. Did you like this project? I really, it's really fun to do these. And once you sort of get a hang of how to place them into the container, sometimes I think that's probably the most complicated part. Is just to grab some florals, something long and something short that can go in the middle and, kind of towards the front. But don't be afraid to use these larger florals. Just use parts of them like we did today. Just use a couple of pieces out of it, a couple of blooms out of it. You are so welcome, Carol. You are so welcome. Thanks for being on. Terry, did you follow along with me? Did you follow along? Who else besides Terry followed along with me today? I would love to hear that. Don't have a lot of time, so this is perfect. Yes, I know, you guys. Ellen says she doesn't have a lot of time, so it's perfect. Yep, just pick out a container. And any of these things that I did today, these florals, can go in any of the containers that you have. Any of them. So just pull out a container and just do something similar like this. And especially these, tall florals that go perfect in the background. Terry says kept up pretty well. Okay, good to know. Roberta says she's going to make the boot when she gets home. Good. I can't wait to see it. Roberta, be sure to post. You guys can post your projects on those two groups. So the AI Way, the Art Impressions Way, and the Art Impression Stamp group. So if you join those, you do have to ask to join. They're private groups. They're not our groups. They're not our professional groups, but they are private groups. And so you do have to ask to join, but they are so welcoming and warm and just have the most talented people that are on there. It's so fun to just cruise through and just get ideas. So be sure to post. Those of you who are on those groups, post, because I'll be seeing it. I'll be seeing it on there. So I will sign off now, you guys. Thanks so much for being on with me. Those of you who were on yesterday, so 2 days with me, it's just been the best. So thanks so much, everyone. I will see you all again next week for Watercolor Wednesday. Have a great rest